Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. This is a story about a giant who lived on Plymouth Hoe. His name was Gogmagog, and he was 18 feet tall and very, very fierce. It was said he was so strong that he could rip an oak tree from the ground with one hand and wield it as a club. But Gogmagog's story starts many, many, many years before. Long, long ago, before there were mobile phones, before there were computers, before there were motor cars and aeroplanes, before pretty much anything. And it started in a land far, far away, far over the seas. And in this land there was an emperor, and the emperor was the most powerful man in the world. People trembled at his name. But this emperor had 33 daughters, and the emperor's daughters were wicked. They were licentious, they indulged in drunkenness, they indulged in every wickedness known to man, and then invented a few of their own. The emperor was distraught. He didn't know what to do with his daughters. He couldn't control them. His advisors in the end advised him to find 33 good men and marry his daughters to these men. Well, the emperor scoured his lands far and wide until he found 33 good men, and then he married his daughters off to them. His daughters weren't happy with this. They didn't want to be married to good men. They were having too much fun, indulging in all their wicked practices. So pretty soon they couldn't stand it any longer. The eldest daughter, by the name of Alba, called a meeting with her sisters, and they all got together and they decided to kill their husbands. So this they did. The 33 daughters poisoned their husbands. The king was incensed. He flew into a rage. He ordered that his daughters be banished from the lands. They were put on board a ship and cast adrift. They were adrift on the ocean for many, many months. They weathered huge storms and raging seas and gales. And just as their food and water was running out, they were washed ashore on an island. They named this island Albion, after the eldest daughter, Alba. Well, there were people living on this island, but they were quite primitive, really. And there were lots and lots of demons. Well, these girls, being wicked, consorted with the demons. And consorting with demons, they produced a race of giants. Well, gradually, as the daughters grew older, and one by one died off, the race of giants lived in peace with the people that lived on these islands. They kept themselves to themselves. But after many, many, many years, the Roman army invaded Albion, and they renamed it Britain. And there were many battles between the Romans and the giants. But the giants fought alone. The Roman army fought as a team, and they had better weapons. So the Romans were able to beat the giants. And they destroyed all the giants apart from one, Gogmagog, who lived on Plymouth Hoe. And they allowed Gogmagog to live because there was a duke in Cornwall called Coriolanus. And Coriolanus liked to wrestle with giants. So rather than upset Coriolanus, they left Gogmagog alive, so there was one giant left that he could wrestle with. Well, Gogmagog lived on Plymouth Hoe, and one day Coriolanus decided he wanted to wrestle Gogmagog. So he came to Plymouth Hoe and he challenged Gogmagog. Gogmagog flew into a rage. He shouted and screamed, he jumped up and down, he waved his club in the air. He insulted Coriolanus. Coriolanus wasn't afraid. Coriolanus stood his ground. And then they rushed at each other. Gogmagog grabbed Coriolanus in a great bear hug, and he squeezed him so hard that 3 of Coriolanus's ribs broke. At this, Coriolanus flew into a rage. He grabbed Gogmagog, he lifted him high above his head, and he dashed him down onto the rocks below the cliffs on Plymouth Hoe. And that was the end of the story of the giants in Plymouth, when the last giant, Gogmagog, was killed by Coriolanus on Plymouth Hoe. I hope you enjoyed this story. Bye.